all your freshman year. It's going to be writing intensive, reading intensive. It's going to be capped at about 16 students. It's going to be led by one of the faculty members. Sometimes it's joint taught by two. Oftentimes it's interdisciplinary, and it's essentially a place where you can go where there's going to be all freshmen. We're going to get your feet wet with reading, with writing, with college level work, where they can give a lot of feedback to you and really can be involved in the kind of classroom discussion. The school thought that that should be kind of like the one requirement of the open curriculum to make sure that a student doesn't come in and take 32 straight science classes and graduate not knowing how to read or write. But there's about 30-something different freshman seminar options, I believe. So in the summer you rank it from 1 to 5 as far as what you want. They're going to try and pick your top choice. But because there's a cap on students, you might not get it, but you probably get one of your top 3. In addition to the freshman seminar, you have to fulfill a major. So as a psych major, I have 9 requirements. So sometime in my 4 years here, I have to take 9 psych classes, and about 4 or 5 of them are delegated to me, as far as stats, bio psych, social psych, that kind of thing. So there's a set number of classes in each major, which is going to be probably similar to most schools you go to, and a couple of specifics within that major. And the third requirement is that you take 32 total credits, which shapes out to 4 each semester.
The average class size at Amherst is 17. The faculty to student ratio, student to faculty ratio is 8 to 1. There we go, I always screw that up. That's right. Student to faculty ratio is 8 to 1. And since there are no graduate students here, they're all undergraduates. So all the professors here teach classes to undergrads. There are no TAs that teach classes. And when you go and have office hours, you meet with your professor who has just written a book or just took off. Like my econ professor just was off the first semester working at the Federal Reserve with an Amherst alum who is the new Fed governor, and just hanging out with Ben Bernanke and doing his stuff. So the professors here are a great asset. And Amherst is an open curriculum, which means that there are no distribution requirements, which means that you can choose whatever classes you want to take. That doesn't mean that people at Amherst just go and all they take is, all I'm going to take is science. All I'm going to take is chemistry. All I'm going to take is, political science or math or whatever. All I'm going to do is just dance my heart out all the time. An overwhelming majority, something like 89% of Amherst students would fulfill a normal distribution requirement, even having the open curriculum. But the open curriculum is great because you know that the people in your class want to be in that class. So the people in the class are engaged in the material because they could have chosen one of the other 1,000 classes that are offered in that semester. It also makes it so that faculty have to give classes that people really want to take, because if nobody wants to take it, then people aren't really going to show up.
A lot of discussion, a lot of hands-on. You probably will know your professor's name. Well, sorry, you'll know their name. They're going to know your name. They're going to know when you're not there. They can call you out on it. I had a friend who missed class. The teacher emailed him to make sure he's okay, not sick, that kind of thing. So, again, that's like a preference thing. If that sounds like something you want, cool, come to Amherst. If not, think about it. If you want your teachers calling you out. But generally, I think it creates an awesome community and it keeps people really engaged. You've probably given them enough of a head start. And this is our Museum of Natural History, third largest in New England, behind Harvard and Yale. But we do have the largest collection of dinosaur footprints in the world. So
Welcome to the Museum of Natural History. My name is Tawanda and she's Erin, and we both work here. So this is the third largest natural history museum in New England. The collection pretty much started over a century ago, with pretty much like professors and students gathering most of the specimens in here. So summers, professors and students maybe would go down to the west, put on digs, and then this is what they'll come up with. So most of the specimens actually professor and student partnerships where they just did the digs and then they just came up with this. And downstairs we have the largest collection of dinosaur footprints collected by a man called Edward Hitchcock. He was the third president of the college. So most of those were found in the valley around this area. So if you have time, free to check those out. And collections actually more than 200,000 specimens. But what you see on display is about 2,000. So this is kind of like just a tip of the whole thing. And on this floor, you have basically mammals from the Pleistocene. And downstairs, we have the dinosaur section. And upstairs, that's where you have invertebrate animals. So this part of the museum is kind of like part of the whole geology department building. So if you have time, feel free to come back. It's open from 11 to 4. And yeah, if you have any questions.
So I had a question about study abroad. There is a study abroad program. There's tons of different places that you can go. I want to say like roughly 40% of the junior class goes abroad. You can either do one semester, fall or spring, or you can do the full year. Credits transfer over, financial aid transfers over, so the college really wants you to go abroad if you want to, and a lot of people do.
Is that a certain countries they're affiliated with, or you can pick any country?
You can pretty much pick. There's like technically there's affiliations with a school in Japan and a school in another country, just technical affiliation, but you can go anywhere. There's like 200 different study abroad programs that people have already done, and that it's very easy to set up. And once again, if there's something that there's a study abroad and there's a place that nobody's ever gone before, you can easily set it up. I don't know tons about study abroad since I'm only first year and I haven't studied abroad, but from a lot of people do it, and it's very easy to do.
If your school doesn't offer it, could you, since you're in the 5-school consortium, could you go and do one that another school offers?
Yeah, definitely, easily. Like I said, like anything that you want to do, you could definitely go do. It's very flexible, and a lot of people do it, and a lot of people recommend doing it.
What about sports?
So sports, we have 3 different levels of sports. Varsity, which is Division 3, club, and intramural. So our Division 3 teams, I believe there are 15 women's teams and 14 men's teams. They're more of a time commitment than the other 2 levels, obviously. But they're not so much of a time commitment that it would limit your activities in other kind of places on campus. So my roommate, as I said, was a track star, so she ran track all year long because it's a year-long sport. But she was also the sports editor for the Amherst Student, which is our weekly newspaper. She did stuff with the community garden, and she also had time to study. So it doesn't stop you from doing other things as well. The club level is at it's less serious than the varsity level, but you still may play other schools, you may travel a little bit in the Northeast, and it also includes sports like ultimate frisbee and rugby and water polo. Those would all be considered club teams, but it is at a little less serious of a level as the varsity level. And then the intramural teams are completely recreational, and it's really just to have something else to do on the weekends. So I was the captain of my intramural softball team my freshman year, and we were awful. I cannot even express how bad my team was. So usually we would go and kind of mix in with the other team because playing them would just not be any fun because my team was so bad. But it really was just a fun thing to do on the weekend, so it wasn't super competitive. Though they did have a more competitive league. So there's 2 different leagues for intramural softball, more competitive, not as competitive. Luckily I was in the not as competitive league. But it is a lot of fun even if you're on a team that's pretty bad. Alright, we'll go inside so I can give you the video.
Okay, I can do this in 2 ways. Okay, I'm going to do this in 2 ways. I'll stay here. I'll point a couple things out real quick. You guys can wander for a second. If you guys have questions and want to stay behind and ask me, you can feel free to ask me. I'll bang on the piano. When I bang on the piano, we have 20 seconds to be back here.